Hello, and welcome to the Retire to a Life You Love podcast with your host, Michelle Gessner. I'm Wendy McConnell. Well, hi, Michelle. It is almost spring, right?
I think it is spring. The time has changed. It's warm over here in Houston. It is definitely spring.
Yeah, and you know what? We have light now, like at the end of the day.
Yes, we do.
We're
is excited about that.
Glorious.
Yes,
right?
it is.
So what do we have planned for today?
So today I am excited to introduce our listeners to the face of our firm. I've been doing this podcast now for a couple years, and I think it's high time that people get to hear from someone other than me, right? So today I am introducing Lauren Morris. Her official title here is Client Services Manager. Her unofficial title is Office Manager and Girl Friday and Michelle's assistant and person who holds the office together and everything else. So I'm going to let her properly introduce herself. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, just how to make clients' lives easier, navigating all that stuff that hopefully they're not having to do themselves. They don't have to do themselves when they work with us. But gosh, we have a couple of tips and tricks that Lauren's going to talk about with regard to things that people care about, like how to get your money, things like that. So without further ado, Lauren, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, Wendy. I have been working here at Gessner Wealth Strategies since 2017. If you call the office, I'm more than likely the person that you are going to be speaking with. Like Michelle said, we all wear kind of many hats. So I am more than likely the person that can help you. If I can't, I can find someone that can. So.
Well, perfect. Well, Lauren, we want to know what you know. We want to know. All right. So we're going to ask a few questions today. And I think the first one that I want to start out with is, what would you say are the most frequently asked questions that you have received over the years?
So one does come to mind. And I just want to say that I'm going to use the phrase custodian to just try to keep everything neutral. And when I'm saying that, I'm going to be speaking about where a person's money is being held. So Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, places like that. But I'm just going to use custodian to kind of keep it neutral. But a question that is asked almost every single time we have a new client coming on board is, how do I access my money? If I need money, what do I do to get it? And that's a pretty easy one that I can answer fairly quickly. All the money, so we do not hold your money at all. That is held at the custodian. Our firm uses Charles Schwab. So all of our clients, they can walk into a Charles Schwab branch and get a distribution. Of course, we always do ask our clients to come directly to us because we're going to make sure they're withdrawing their money in a tax efficient way and the right way that's for their financial plan. But they can always go into a Charles Schwab branch and withdraw their money directly.
So what you're saying is we don't hold their money hostage, right?
Correct. Okay. They have access to it at all times through Charles Schwab.
All right. So that's the most frequently asked question. Can you think of anything else just off the top of your head?
So kind of going with how they get their money, they always want to ask, well, how quickly they can get their money if they need it. Typically, we ask about 3 business days. Our team is going to need to raise the cash and send it over to them. But there's typically some paperwork that needs to get done prior to that. So during the onboarding process, we always have our clients fill out a bank link form. They get that set up, and within about 2 weeks with Charles Schwab, they have a direct link with their money at Charles Schwab and their bank account, and we can send money within just a couple of days.
Okay, so you mentioned setting up the bank information. So Can people just not do that if they're worried about cybersecurity, or should they be worried about controls in maybe I mean, I know that comes up for you, right?
It does. It does. We've had clients before said, I don't want to link between Charles Schwab and my bank. I'll set it up later. The only problem with that is, like I said, it takes a couple of weeks to get that link set up. So if you're going to need this money in a hurry, that's probably not the best way. But to give people a little peace of mind, once that link is set up, we are not able to change their bank account information. So if they're thinking, oh, I don't want my bank information sitting on Charles Schwab, we can't even see their bank account number. So they set it up directly with Charles Schwab, either on their portal or we can help them do it. And then we lose access to their account numbers. So no one on our team would be able to send their money to a different bank or anything like that. And I know, Michelle, you could probably speak better on the cybersecurity of that.
Well, I can. What I want to do, we're going to have in the show notes the Charles Schwab Security Guarantee, which it's a link that you can visit. And you can learn all about the extensive cybersecurity controls and guarantees in case there is a hacker that breaks in, and how your money is protected. They've got loads and loads of insurance through Lloyd's of London. There is also the SIPC, which is another security guarantee that's unrelated to Schwab. You can read all about that. But I think what you may be touching on is the fear, perhaps on the side of the client, that who has access to this bank account, and
Right.
and can someone just withdraw money from their account, from their Schwab account?
Right.
And it is a two-way link, Lauren, or is it a one-way link? Can you describe that?
So we can actually set it up both ways. Typically, if a client is still in their working years and they may contribute to their accounts, we're going to do a two-way link with the bank and Schwab. So if they need to make a contribution, we can help them set that up. Again, they can set up that themselves and do that link without involving us at all. If they're in their retirement years, they're not going to be putting money in that account. More than likely, we're just going to have a one-way link directly from Schwab over to their bank account.
All right. And also, they don't have to set it up at all, and they can just get the money the good old-fashioned way through the mail, or go pick up a check from Charles Schwab. There's always those possibilities, but most people...
Exactly. Lots of possibilities for them to pick from.
I personally think it's safer to have it all done through, a bank link. I think there are potential issues with sending things through the mail, but that's up for debate, I suppose.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips that you can share for new clients who would be onboarding? What do they need to know? Anything you can speak about there?
Yeah. One of the big ones that I know takes a little time when a new client's coming on board is gathering the account statements for their investment accounts that they are going to be putting under our management. That takes time. Typically, you're going to need about a statement that's no more than 90 days old. So start gathering those things. If you're going to be onboarding with a new advisor, go ahead and gather those. It's going to be needed for your account paperwork, but also your financial plan. So I would definitely suggest getting that information together prior to you starting the paperwork process. Another tip I would say is sometimes your dynamics have changed in your life. Maybe you had birth of a grandchild, a marriage, a divorce, and it's been a while since you've checked your beneficiaries. So always think about your beneficiaries when you're changing custodians or to a new advisor. That's going to be your perfect time to make sure your beneficiaries are the way you want it. Now, we help our clients with the estate planning process, and typically that's done after their accounts have already moved over under our management as part of the financial planning process. So we always let our clients know we're going to put down as your beneficiary who you believe it should be, with the knowledge that it could always change later after the estate planning process is done.
Yeah, that's a good point. People worry, if I put my beneficiary down, what if it, I'm thinking of changing everything. It can be done again, and you're the person that gets that done for them, right?
Yeah, so I am, or they could do it themselves. So there is a way for them to do that themselves online.
So I want you to talk about what people can do themselves. I think
Mhm.
there is a potential fear out there that if you are going to work with an advisor, you lose control of your
Right.
money. So I want you to talk about that. But before you do, or maybe while you're talking about that, how do you save people time? I know you do a lot of things with Schwab,
Yeah.
and I, correct me if I'm wrong, but most people don't like to be on the phone with Schwab.
Right.
Would you say that's true?
I would say that's true. So we can definitely save all of our clients time. A lot of our clients prefer to give me a call, send me an email, and say, Lauren, this is what I need. And then I take care of it. Either that's a phone call to Schwab, or that's completing the paperwork and sending it to the client through DocuSign to complete. Schwab processes so many requests on a daily basis that things can sometimes get lost in the shuffle or just not processed on a timely basis. So my job is to make sure it does for the client. I go ahead and I am on the phone with Schwab for hours every week, calling them and saying, hey, this was supposed to be processed already. It's not. What's the holdup? What do you need from us? And just kind of pushing things along. That way the client doesn't have to worry about it at all. But they do have the option of doing things themselves, like you said. So they can get onto their Schwab portal or their Schwab app on their phones. They can update their beneficiaries, like I said. They can also update their tax withholding. And that's almost an instantaneous thing. They can deposit checks. So they could do so much on their own, but I know a lot of our clients kind of prefer just to shoot off an email to me or make one phone call to me and know that I'm just going to handle it for them.
But if they're asking for money, you don't just accept the email, right?
Correct. So we have systems in place to make sure that our clients know their money is safe at Charles Schwab. And so if a client sends us an email and asks us for a distribution, or maybe to send them their monthly account statement, that has happened before, we always let them know that we need to hear from them over the phone. And so we will give them a call at the number that we have on record for them, and just make sure that they are the ones that sent the request before anything gets processed at all.
Yeah, we definitely like to double check so that we don't have anybody impersonating anybody, and it's just a standard protection.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what can they do on their own? Now, you mentioned a couple of things. They can update their tax withholding. They can update their own beneficiaries. Is there anything else that they can do? They can get their own distribution, you said.
Yeah, they can get their own distributions. They can deposit checks. So we've had some clients get old 401k money sent to them in a check, and they're able just to take their Schwab app, deposit it directly to their account. They can always come to us and drop it off, and I can do that for them. But I think they kind of like the convenience of not having to go to a Schwab branch to deposit anything and being able to just do it right there instantaneously on their phone.
All right. So just for our listeners, so Lauren is our resident paperwork expert, and she's been working with Schwab and other custodians over the years. I just want to put a plug in for you, Lauren. She knows more than they do. Okay. I mean, not everybody, but she's pretty good with that paperwork and knowing how to route things and who to talk to, and the navigation process, which can be a bit daunting. Yeah. And of course the time involved, like you said, you don't want to nobody likes to sit on hold. So, Lauren, can you maybe cover a couple of cases, of real examples of how you helped someone navigate through, I don't know, the RMD process or cost basis issues or whatever you want to highlight, where you really were able to help someone that maybe they didn't even know they needed the help?
Yeah, definitely. So I've got a few stories. One of them kind of touches a little bit, Michelle, on what you just said about navigating Schwab. We had submitted a beneficiary change to Schwab for a client, and I went to go check on it a couple days later, and Schwab came back and said, "I'm so sorry, this type of account cannot have beneficiaries on it." I knew that was untrue. I knew the person was just misinformed. After some pushback, they finally got me on the phone with somebody who could help me. They processed the beneficiary form change, but that's just something that a client, if they had tried to do that on their own, they may have received that same answer and just given up. And then their account wouldn't have had the beneficiary on it, which has its own set of problems after the fact. So that's one example of how sometimes it's good to have someone else on your side, just kind of take it over and help navigate those things. But another time, and Michelle, you can jump in here as needed. We had a client who had inherited a taxable account from her husband. And we were the advisors of the accounts, her IRA, her husband's IRA. But this small taxable account was the husband's fun money, something he just liked to make trays and play with the money on his own. So when he passed, she inherited it. It was at Charles Schwab, so they just moved the account directly into her name. And then we became the advisor on it. And what we found out, or what you found out, Michelle, while doing some tax planning for her, is Schwab had not processed the cost basis step up for her on that account. And we found out that when we called Schwab and asked them, well, how come this wasn't done? They said, oh, we don't do that at all unless the client asks for it. We just don't even mention it.
All right. So I do want to translate because I think probably some people out there are like, what is she talking about? So here we have a situation, as Lauren described, the spouse passed away, and you can work with Schwab if you're on your own, or Fidelity, or whoever it is, and they will help you with retitling that account properly. Sometimes they make it very easy. Sometimes they don't. It can be a very daunting and upsetting process. If you're our client, of course, we're going to take that off your hands and make sure it's done properly with the proper checks and balances, because we know what we're doing. In the case that Lauren described, Schwab did retitle the account properly from the husband's name to the surviving wife's name. All was done correctly. But what they didn't do is change what's called the cost basis. And you're probably thinking, why do I care about that? And what is it? The cost basis is just how much money was in the account at the time of opening the account. So the principal amount of the account before the money maybe grew over the years. So think of cost basis as principal. So the husband contributed whatever he contributed when he opened up the account. It grew over the years, and then he passed away. A surviving spouse in Texas gets what's called a double step up in basis, meaning at the time of the husband's death, the market value, whatever it was on the day he died, is supposed to be the new basis. So that if the wife, the surviving spouse, decides to sell those stocks or whatever the money's invested in, the wife now has a smaller gain to be taxed. If she doesn't get that double step up because we're a community property state here in Texas, if you're not in a community property state, then it's just a single step up. So half the money is stepped up to the market value. But all I'm trying to say here is they didn't do it. And if you don't know to ask, you don't know what you don't know, my favorite expression, then you're going to be taxed more than you should be when you go to sell those securities. So that was what was going to happen here. And I'll let you finish the story.
Yeah. So we ended up getting the form. I called Schwab. I got the form. While the client was here in the office, we were able to get the form completed, signed, sent to Schwab. They processed it super fast. I want to say within a day. And we got that all sorted out for the client, because she would have had a tax mess on her hands if that hadn't been done. I do have another cost basis story. We had a client who reached out to us a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Michelle. And he said, I just got a letter from the IRS. Nobody wants a letter from the IRS.
Nobody. And you know what? When you get a letter from the IRS, it's not a love letter.
It's not a love letter.
And they never tell you, hey, this is, we're going to give you money. I've never.
They never say you're doing a great job, right?
No.
So they said that he owed a significant amount of money because actually the cost basis was not reported correctly to them. So we had dug through our records, which we keep records of everything for compliance. So we had everything he needed. We handed it over to him and his accountant, and they were able to significantly reduce what he owed. So just another thing that we help our clients with, and they're not on their own at any step. So.
Sure. Yeah. No, some people love keeping really good records and they are up on all the different tax terms and laws and everything. And if that's you, well, great. Good for you. And maybe you enjoy doing that. The people I run into don't like doing that stuff. Yeah. And even if they knew how, which many people do not. But we handle that. Lauren is key in handling this stuff.
I try. Yeah.
Any other stories for us?
One more I could tell you, real quick. So if you have an account at a custodian that cannot move for your advisor to manage, whichever the circumstance may be, either it's stuck there, it's locked up, don't let that stop you from getting professional help. We have a few clients, but I'm going to talk on one in particular that use TIAA. So she has an old TIA 403B. It's locked away. She can't move that over into her IRA that we manage for her. And every year, she and we have a scheduled call, and we call TIAA together, and we get that RMD sent out. There's paperwork. TIA loves their paperwork. So we get the paperwork filled out and sent in, and I help her through that whole process so she doesn't have to do it on her own. So if that's you, if you know that you've got these accounts and you're like, no one can manage these accounts, don't let that stop you from getting help, because there are advisors out there that are going to help you get what you need done. So.
Well, I just want to, because I think I know the situation you're describing, but let me just ask you, in each of these years that you've had to help this process along, has TIAA ever made a mistake?
Well, I think we would be here a really long time if I went through that list.
And we're not trying to bash anybody.
Yeah,
we're not picking on.
Yeah.
It's not any one company. It's just there are so many moving parts.
Right. Like I said earlier, custodians have so many requests that they're trying to do all at one time and trying to get it done. They're overworked. So you need someone in your corner that, one, loves the paperwork. I know it's odd, but I love the paperwork. So you need someone that likes doing that can help navigate those waters for you.
You do love the paperwork. And I'm going to say that's not common. That is not a common trait. But we love that you love the paperwork.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm guessing that just spending the time that you did with us, there's a bunch of requests piling up on your desk from people who know that you love doing paperwork.
Thank you.
And so we really appreciate your time today, letting us know what's going on in your world.
So glad I got to be here today. So thank you for having me.
Sure thing.
So if people want to get to know Lauren by calling Michelle to get more information about what we do here, how do they go about doing that?
Well, getting hold of Lauren is going to be easier than getting hold of me, because all you have to do is call our phone number, and Lauren is probably going to be the one to pick up. You can reach us at GessnerWealthStrategies.com. Probably the easiest thing to do. Our phone number is right there on the website, but I'll say it out loud here on this podcast, 713-589-6448.
All right. Well, thank you to both of you, and thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to Retire to a Life You Love with Michelle Gessner from Gessner Wealth Strategies. We hope you were inspired to take steps to your financial freedom as you learned new techniques and strategies for managing your finances. To learn more about how you can improve your financial landscape, visit our website at www.gessnerwealthstrategies.com. That's GESSNER wealthstrategies.com. Or give Michelle and her team a call at 713-589-6448. And don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes are available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Michelle Gessner or Gessner Wealth Strategies. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.